So you guys made a couple roster moves today, putting Javontae on IR. Is this a short-term situation for him? And also, will Dorrance practice today?
Dorrance will not practice today, and yes, we're hoping it's shorter than longer with Javontae with his ankle injury. So we're hopeful that it's at the limit, and then we'll get a see for there. It's too early to call today, John.
So, and you guys obviously have some banged up a little bit there, and has anything accelerated because of your 4-2 start in terms of how you want to build this roster? You look around the league, there's a few trades going on. What is anything changed with that as far as how you guys approach things? And what is the challenge of even adding players at this point if you wanted to go down that
Right, that's a good question for Adam, but we talk about the team all the time, so although there's a deadline, it doesn't mean there's a time that you have to begin that. And so we spent a lot of time on the roster and the team, and you're right that we did get banged up into some spots, and that's why we are fortunate that the practice squad is bigger than it was years ago. And you guys can remember that when there was 4 players, and then the street list was different, and you went through that. But now there's I feel like a really good developmental plan of people that are in the building and practicing and playing. And so when those opportunities come up to go deliver, and although people may have not played a lot of reps, they get their chances. And I know you probably heard me say it before, but J-Mac is certainly the one that comes to mind for me of when his number was called, you get ready to deliver. And that's just such a pure example for us.
Brian Robinson, another injured guy. Any sense if he'll be out there today for practice?
Yes, yep, Brian will be out there today, which is we're really pumped about to see him doing well. And it was hard not having him, but in the sake of what's best for him first and then for the team, it was the right call.
And you mentioned, John asked about the deadline, that maybe it's more of a question for Adam, and you guys have kind of made that clear, the defining of the roles. Part of the reason separating the roles is because GM is thinking bigger picture, coach is thinking typically about today. Knowing that, do you get like, oh, I kind of wish we could do a little bit more because you are focused on the here and now? No,
because I don't, get into, the what ifs and where we're at. The thing that we spend, the time on it, hey, is there anything that's stressing you? Is there, a spot that we need to address and go through? So that's really more where our time's spent. But you're right. There's a lot of people around this time of year that get calls, give calls, all of that. And I think that's just kind of part of this time.
Just going back to Dorrance Armstrong real quick. So what is his status? Like, are you concerned that this will be a longer-term thing with him? I'm
not concerned on a longer term, no. If it was, then it would have been, like a IR move to go. So he's not going to practice today. And so, we're just going to take it as we're going. But knowing Dorrance, like this is a tough competitor. And so I know he'll put the work in to get, better and gets, back to play just as soon as he possibly can.
And I know you've talked before about, marrying rush with the coverage. With so many changes up front, I mean, how do you keep that from straining the back end of the defense?
Yeah, the good news is that we did add some people today, but by and large, the people have been in here. So whether you're in the practice or in the game, like that's super important, Nikki, to make sure that handles in the very correct way that we want it to. And so we had, as the old saying goes, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and we took a step back into that space, and we certainly intend on getting that back to the way that we need to for sure.
Good afternoon, Coach.
Good afternoon.
Speaking of where you guys have come from to where you are today, at the same time knowing your personnel, I know you guys have done a lot to kind of mix and match people and figure out where to best utilize guys. How well do you feel like you know your personnel at this stage?
Yeah, certainly a lot better than the 7 weeks ago to how to feature guys and going at, certainly the running back room is one that has emerged of how to feature guys and doing that. And I think there's a lot of room to grow in a lot of spots. We've liked how we've used safeties and nickels and linebackers in different spots. Sometimes you see Frankie on the edge and sometimes behind the ball. So I'm in, still, still growing into that space. But I would say that we know a lot more now. And I think like the receiver probably is the best example of moving guys and featuring them in different ways. And so, the addition of Noah, right there, at that time was a big addition for us too.
And then Dave Canales is a coach that, in his first year calling plays in Tampa last year, didn't really solidify a full-blown running game identity, I guess is kind of the best way I can try to put that, but he's making a concerted effort to do that in Carolina this year. Does it make it any trickier to prepare for a guy when he's kind of still developing his own identity in one part of the game?
Yeah, it's fully fully grown in terms of the run game there. I've got a lot of respect for it. The interior of their line is exceptional, both in the run game and the pass game. But you see the yards per carry, and so they have to do a nice job of the run game, the play pass. I think the addition of Andy, has leveled out some of the things there. But those are some things that jumped out to me was the strength of their run game, their ability to cut it back. I was certainly impressed in studying them. I'm not surprised by Dave and the staff that he put together that that's a strong part for them.
Now that it's been a couple days, is there any kind of more fallout from John Allen being gone for the year? Both the player he is on the D-line, but just the presence, a guy that's been here a long time as guys get back into the building and prepare for Carolina?
Yeah, I thought, what a great line by John. Just, as opposed to, hey, don't feel sorry for me. Here's a good chance for you to get more chances, more opportunities. And that's what a leader does, knowing that there's other guys in the room that are, will step up, specifically Johnny. And knowing that they're ready to take that challenge on. But I thought that was a great moment by him of allowing in his space of a tough and dark time to say, this is a good opportunity for you, man. Go get it and go take it. And everybody deserves those chances when you go for it. And this just happens to be one of those times when, and all of us have been in that spot, like, hey, man, this is your chance. And you absolutely go for it and go for it as hard as you can.
And then with Johnny specifically, but then that kind of D-tackle rotation, how will that change, and what are expectations changing for Newton?
Well, it'll certainly change the rotation. Sheldon Day will also be a part of that moving forward. FA is somebody that can work inside and outside. So, but it'll change the rotation of people for sure with a heavier load for Johnny, no doubt about that.
What's, after a loss, I know the guys said in the locker room afterwards, this is a test, and we want to be in these tests. In the last couple of days, what's been the reaction? What have you seen from your guys?
Yeah, I saw, number one, a lot of people here yesterday, and that was their day off, but whether that was them getting their workouts, getting treatment, and so just to see the amount of people here, without the coaches, I thought that's a good sign, Chick. Just think of the guys are getting here to work on the stuff they want to work on to absolutely throw a great week. And specifically, there's things that the team wants to work on, whether that might be third down. We got a bigger emphasis for that today. Some things in the run game that we wanted to get ironed out. And so that's what I challenged us on, honestly, like, can we get stronger? And there's all sorts of ways and opportunities to do that. And those leaps, although think of like a spring you're putting down, you see it uncoil and all this energy takes place. As the players, they don't get to see that, but it's going to happen again in this leap. But you got to go put the work in to, another 4 or 5 weeks from now, say, okay, that's when I started that, and now I'm getting better at it, and that's where our challenge is. And that we've got great regard for Dave and Carolina and everything else, but it does come back to us saying there's a lot that we need to get stronger and improve upon, and like we are going to work really hard to do that.
Hi, Dan. After, a tough loss, sometimes you rely on your leaders in that locker room. I'm sure, the Terrys, the Bobby Wagners. But has there been a different kind of leader that's surprised you a little bit? Maybe that's been more vocal, or somebody that's asserted himself that maybe you weren't expecting to kind of take that type of role?
There are quite a few, actually. Andrew Wiley, Sam Cosme, I thought, and specifically at the offensive line. At the end of the game, we're going to learn from this. Like agitated, been out of shape for sure. But also knowing that, what we need to get done. And so I felt that, for certain on their side. I certainly am feeling like Quan Martin's energy, coming through and the confidence from him to do that. I've always felt it from Luvu. I'd always felt it from Armstrong. So those are a few that come to mind that I'm just, kind of picturing back to the locker room right now.
You look at the records and they're 1-5, right, Carolina? But any given Sunday, anything can happen. Do you have to remind your team of don't look at the records? I mean, anything can happen type deal.
We don't, and the reason is so much of the focus is on us. We've got plenty to work on, Scott, and we are absolutely going to go sharpen our game as strong as we can, and knowing that will pay dividends, moving forward. But no, we're absolutely going forward as hard as we can, and. We want to see those leaps and that progress take place, and that's what we intend on doing for sure.
Hey, Coach, the team is retiring Darryl Green's number this weekend. Can you talk about the kind of player he was and how important he is to the franchise?
Yeah, it's amazing, and so to get a chance to be a part of that, that is really cool. 19 consecutive years with an interception. That one just slaps me right in the face in a very good way. And you want to talk about like standards and doing things. Walter Payton, Man of the Year, off the field, Super Bowl champion on the field. And so clearly a guy who not only had his football world in order, but his off the field world as well. So just the fact that we get to, kind of be around and knowing that's going down this weekend, big alumni crew coming in, it's awesome.
Coach, ironically, I want to ask you about another cornerback, Forbes. And when it's a young guy, especially who's kind of trying to figure it out and little ups and downs, how do you keep him mentally from not viewing, not playing as we don't believe in you anymore?
Yeah, I had that conversation specifically, and kind of remind him it's not always going to be this rocky. By the work that you put in, the things that you want to emphasize, and then you work like hell to go improve upon those specific things, and the chance is going to come back around. And when it does, you want to be able to go nail it. But the reason you can is because all the work, as you know, Dave, that you put in. So when that chance comes again, you say, okay, I've put the work in, I'm ready to go do it. So that was my message to him about the readiness, and that next chance, it's going to be there again, and absolutely be ready for it.
I know there's some discussions last week about activating Jordan McGee. With all the injuries on the defensive line, would getting another athletic linebacker allow you to use Frankie Louvu rushing the passer a little bit more to kind of help with some of those injuries? Yeah,
he had a good start to it for sure, and we've got this week to continue to evaluate it. So we'll take it all the way through the week, but he really has looked sharp, and I thought week 1 to week 2 improves, and now I want to see that again into this week. But it was a good start for sure last week. I really felt that.
Last two will go Liam and Wino.
Staying with the defensive line, you brought in Sheldon Day and Jalyn Harris. What have you seen from those two, and what do you think they can bring to your defensive line rotation?
Sheldon's been with us for a while, so that part I've got a chance to know him and watch him, and he's got real quickness. He can get up the field. He's a good communicator on the field. And with Jalyn, I got a chance to evaluate him most specifically, this season with the Jets. And, certainly have a strong knowledge of their system and their scheme through Jeff Ulbrich. And so getting a chance to watch that was really strong. In fact, I got text from his coach and one of his teammates saying, what a good pickup, and he'll be missed around here. And so that's always a good sign. Unprompted belief about someone without you asking is always a good sign. So we're really pumped to get him here. He knows a couple of guys here. He played with Noah and Terry back at Ohio State. Came in the same class together, so I don't know who was running Ohio State back then, but good job to you.
You've coached Matt Ryan, you've coached a team that had Dak Prescott, and now JAYDEN Daniels. What does it do for an organization or franchise when you get that position right? When you know that you have the quarterback who is your guy?
Well, yeah, I think everybody, that's the name of the game, to say at a position that affects the outcome so much, decision making and processes to go. There's so much that goes into it. And so for me, getting a chance to be around excellent quarterbacks and seeing what it looks like and knowing that we have an excellent quarterback here, it's fantastic. I would say the common thread on that is relentless work ethics. And I've seen it with JAYDEN and going back through Dak and Matt and on the way down the line. That is a trait that definitely sticks out to me. There's just so much preparation that can go, and finding the right balance of decision-making, competing, knowing, making the plays go right, speeding up throws. It doesn't just get seen on just the way he's throwing it. It's in the way that he's playing the position. And oftentimes things that don't show up on the stat sheet are really a big deal. Dirting a ball that's in a 2-minute that wouldn't go for anything. That was an incomplete. Well, it was actually a really good play that, we didn't do a hell of a lot of coaching on. It was like him being really smart to go nail that. So those are some of the traits that it does. And it definitely, knowing that person's there and fighting shoulder to shoulder with you. I love JAYDEN, what he brings to us, and I can't wait to see him grow, man. He is absolutely relentless about it. All right, you guys have a good one.